have reached the apex, the absolute pinnacle of Doctor Who's popularity in the United Kingdom. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. Although it took until the David Tennant and Matt Smith era for Doctor Who to become a true global phenomenon, in terms of raw viewership numbers inside the United Kingdom, nothing has ever exceeded City of Death. Overall, the story as a whole was the highest rated program in Tom Baker's era, and the fourth episode is the single highest viewed episode of Doctor Who ever on the BBC. And it's not hard to see why. This is Tom Baker at the peak of his powers. And yes, I will always say that the Holmes-Hinchcliffe era with all of its gothic horror and all of those elements is creatively the peak of the show, but you cannot argue that here Tom Baker was at the peak of his popularity, completely on top of his game. Lalla Ward as Romana is pitch perfect, and the story writing from Douglas Adams, who is also the script editor now, is top-notch. I don't think it's any coincidence that this story is the very first one to ever be filmed outside of the UK. When the script was written and set in Paris, originally the intention was to film on sets, until Douglas Adams argued that it would actually be logistically and financially cheaper to just simply cross the channel and go film in Paris. And so they did. And that makes all the difference in the world. The first episode of this story was shot all over the streets of Paris, from the Eiffel Tower to the Paris Opera House, the Louvre. All of the scenes of the Doctor and Romana being tourists throughout the city are just phenomenal and absolutely feed into the story. This story is very much about the ethos of Paris, and the fact that they were able to film there on location makes all of the difference. Story-wise, it's an extremely creative story, and halfway through, it's only just becoming clear what's really happening. The flavor and humor of Douglas Adams' script is thoroughly entertaining from start to finish, and makes this easily the perfect story to show someone who's never seen classic Doctor Who and wants to dip their toes in. If you want to show them the best classic Who story ever, you're going to go for Genesis of the Daleks, but the problem with that one is that it requires so much back knowledge about the history of the Daleks and their interactions with the Doctor. It really takes a lot of background detail to enjoy, whereas City of Death, you don't need to know anything at all about any of the characters. You can walk into it totally blind and follow it perfectly and enjoy every minute of it. One interesting little tidbit about this story. Originally, in terms of costuming, Romana was supposed to be in sort of a Zoe-style silver catsuit, to which she objected to strongly, and I don't blame her. And instead, she decided to wear an adult version of a schoolgirl costume. It is the classic Romana 2 look. If you think of Romana, it's her in this costume. And Lalla Ward chose it because she wanted to give young girls something to look up to who maybe didn't like wearing their school uniforms, bearing in mind that in the UK, school uniforms are ubiquitous. And so Lalla Ward was trying to be a role model for the young girls who were watching the show. And, of course, she was trying to get away from the overt sexuality of wearing a catsuit. So you can imagine her chagrin when, after this story aired, she started getting letter after letter after letter from dads who were watching the show who absolutely loved her in the schoolgirl outfit. Now, one other amusing thing about this story, Douglas Adams makes a cameo in this one, appearing in the background of a cafe scene. It's a blink and you'll miss it cameo, but if you know his face, he leaps right out at you. And it's worth noting that the very weeks that this story aired were the same week that the original Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy novel appeared in bookstores, making this not only the pinnacle of classic Doctor Who, but also the real launching point for Douglas Adams' skyrocketing career. There's a reason he only stayed around as script editor for 1 year. And on that note, I'm going to call it a day for today. Tomorrow, a very impressive cameo. I'll see you tomorrow.